Welcome friends. Topic of today's video is gross anatomy of anal canal. The anal canal is the terminal part of the large intestine and it is devoid of the three characteristic features of the large intestine, that is the tinea coli, appendices apicoli and the saculations or the ostrations. These three characteristic features of large intestine are absent in the anal canal, just like the rectum. The anal canal is a 3.8 centimeters long tube which extends from the anorectal junction to the anal orifice or the anal opening. So this is the anal orifice and this is the anorectal junction. The anal canal is directed downwards and backwards. This diagram is a sagittal view of the male pelvis. In this diagram, we can make out the third cervical vertebra, the fourth, the fifth cervical vertebra, the coccyx. This is the anococcygeal ligament. This is the rectum. This is the dilated part of the rectum, which is known as the ampulla. This is the puborectalis muscle. This green structure is the puborectalis muscle, which is the part of the levator ani muscle, which is forming the pelvic diaphragm. This puborectalis muscle is causing a flexure of approximately 80 to 90 degrees. This flexure in the lower part of the rectum is known as perineal flexure, which is caused by the pull of the puborectalis muscle anteriorly. In front of the rectum and anal canal lies the urinary bladder. This is the prostatic urethra. This is the prostate. This is the urogenital diaphragm. This is the membranous urethra, and posteriorly, this is the perineal body. Below the urogenital diaphragm, the urethra continues as a spongy urethra. This is the bulb of the penis. So, from this diagram, we can easily make out the relations of the anal canal in males. That is, anteriorly, the anal canal is related with the perineal body, the urogenital diaphragm, membranous urethra within it, the bulb of the penis and the initial part of the spongy urethra. These structures are related anteriorly in the male anal canal. But in females, you can see in this diagram, this is the puborectalis muscle, this was the anorectal junction, this is the anal opening. So the anal canal is related anteriorly with the lower part of the vagina and the perineal body. Posteriorly, the anal canal is related with the anococcygeal ligament and the coccyx. This anorectal junction is approximately 2 to 3 centimeters in front of the tip of the coccyx. And this anal orifice is approximately 4 centimeters below and in front of the tip of the coccyx. In females, the posterior relations are same. Laterally, the anal canal is related on both these sides by two fossas, which is known as ischioanal fossa or ischiorectal fossa. Okay? So these were the relations of the anal canal. Now we will look on to the various parts of the anal canal. The anal canal is divided into three parts. Now let us look into this diagram, which is a coronal section of the anal canal. This is the anorectal junction. This is the levator ani muscle. This is the puborectalis muscle, which is a part of the levator ani. This is the dilated part of the rectum known as the ampulla. This is the anal canal and this is the anal orifice. The first part or the upper part is approximately 15 millimeter long and is lined by columnar epithelium. That is, the upper zone of this upper part is lined by simple columnar epithelium and the lower zone of this part is lined by stratified columnar epithelium. Since it is lined by columnar epithelium, which is the mucosa, therefore this part is also known as mucosal part. The mucosal membrane in this mucosal part shows 6 to 10 vertical mucosal folds. These vertical mucosal folds contains radicals of superior rectal vein. So this is the superior rectal vein. It will give off radicals which will be present beneath these folds or which will be causing these mucosal folds. These vertical mucosal folds are called as anal columns, which was caused by the radicals of the superior rectal vein. The lower end of these anal columns are united with each other by some concentric or transverse fold. These concentric or transverse mucosal folds are known as anal valves. Okay? These anal valves are also called as valves of Morgagni. Okay? The space between the lower part of the anal column and below by the anal valve, this space, there is a depression here. This depression above the anal valve is known as anal sinuses. Anal sinuses. Now, if we draw a cut section of the anal valve, this is the anal valve and this is the depression which was known as the anal sinuses. Into this anal sinus drains tubular glands. These tubular glands are known as anal glands. Now you can make out from this diagram that these anal valves are completely encircling the interior of the anal canal and forming a line that is known as pectinate line. This pectinate line is also known as dentate line due to its teeth-like appearance. This pectinate line is very important and it forms the lower limit of this mucosal part. Hemorrhagically or developmentally, the mucosa of the mucosal part of the anal canal develops from the hindgut, which initially developed from the endoderm. Or we can say the part of the anal canal above the pectinate line develops from the endoderm. Also, this pectinate line represents the hemorrhagical site of attachment of the anal membrane. Now the second part. The second part or the middle part is also 15 millimeter in length and is lined by non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, which lacks the sweat glands and the sebaceous glands. This part does not have these mucosal folds and it is bluish pinkish in color. Bluish pink in color which is due to the presence of underlying venous plexus below the mucosa. So in this diagram we can see if this is the mucosa of the second part of the anal canal, below that lies venous plexus. This venous plexus was the cause of the bluish pinkish color of the mucosa of the second part of the anal canal. This middle part or the second part of the anal canal is also known as transitional zone or pecten part. The lower limit of this middle part is marked by a whitish line which is pale and glossy in appearance and is known as white line of Hilton. Therefore, the middle part extends from the pectinate line to the white line of the Hilton. Now the third part, that is the lower cutaneous part. This lower cutaneous part extends from this white line of Hilton to the anal orifice or the anal opening. This is approximately 8 mm in length. Therefore, making the total length of the anal canal 38 mm or 3.8 cm, and this lower cutaneous part is lined by keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, which is a true skin and contains sebaceous and sweat glands. Now we will talk about the musculature of the anal canal. The anal canal is surrounded by two anal sphincters, the internal anal sphincter and the external anal sphincter. The internal anal sphincter is the thickened part of the inner circular layer of the GIT. So if this is the inner circular layer of the rectum, this extends downwards and it gets thickened up in the region of anal canal in its upper 3/4 part till the level of the Hilton's line. This has got thickened up. This thickened circular layer, inner circular layer, is known as internal anal sphincter. Since the internal anal sphincter is modified inner circular layer which is made up of smooth muscle, therefore it is involuntary in nature, which is supplied by autonomic nerves. Now the external anal sphincter. The external anal sphincter is made up of skeletal muscle, therefore it is voluntary in nature and consists of three parts. A deep part, a superficial part and a subcutaneous part. So this one was the deep part, this was the superficial part and this was the subcutaneous part. The deep and the superficial part completely surrounds the internal anal sphincter and the subcutaneous part lies below the internal anal sphincter and surrounds the lower part of the anal canal. Now we will draw another diagram to see the appearance of this external anal sphincter. So if this was the anal canal, okay, this was the anococcygeal raphe or the anococcygeal ligament. This was the perineal body. The subcutaneous part surrounds the lower part of the anal canal like this, and it does not have any bony attachment. The superficial part is elliptical in shape and is entirely attached to the perineal body and posteriorly it is attached to the ano-oxygen raphe. So we can here see that it is elliptical in shape. The deep part surrounds the upper part of the anal canal. So this was the deep part, and this also does not have any bony attachment. The fibers of the deep part of the external anal sphincter fuses with the fibers of the puborectalis muscle. So here, if this is the puborectalis muscle, which is encircling the lower part of the rectum, the fibers of the deep part of external anal sphincter will get merged here with the puborectalis muscle. So with this diagram we can see how these external anal sphincter are arranged in the wall of the anal canal. The longitudinal muscle coat of the rectum and the fibers of the puborectalis muscle joins together at this anorectal junction to form a fibroelastic membrane or septa which runs between this internal elastic sphincter and the external elastic sphincter. This fibroelastic septa reaches till the level of the white line of Hilton, and here it divides into various numerous septa which pierces this subcutaneous part of the external anal sphincter and gets attached to the perianal skin. Here. This fibroelastic septa is also known as conjoint longitudinal coat, okay, at the level of the white line of Hilton. The fibroelastic septa gives a lateralmost septa or fibers which is going laterally and getting attached to the fascia which is forming the pudendal canal. This septa or fiber is known as perianal fascia. Okay. Also at this level, this longitudinal coat is also giving the medialmost septa which is getting attached to the white line, causing a groove here. This groove is known as anal intersphincteric groove, and this medialmost septa is known as anal intermuscular septa, lying between the two anal sphincters. In addition, this longitudinal coat is giving some medial septa which is piercing the internal anal sphincter and getting attached to the submucosa lying between the pectinate line and the white line. Now, a very important muscular ring is formed at the level of the anorectal junction, which is formed by the deep part of the external anal sphincter, the puborectalis muscle, and the internal anal sphincter. This muscular ring here is known as anorectal ring. This anorectal ring is very important for the continence of the rectum, and any subdivision of this ring will lead to rectal incontinence. This anorectal ring is deficient anteriorly, as we can see in this diagram. This was the puborectalis muscle, and the puborectalis muscle here we can see is deficient anteriorly. So in this region, that is anteriorly, the anorectal ring is deficient or weak. Now, what are the surgical spaces which are related to the anal canal? The first space is the ischiorectal fossa, which is present laterally to the anal canal on both these sides, above this perianal fascia. So this is the first space, ischiorectal or ischioanal fossa. The second space lies below this perianal fascia, which is known as perianal space. So this is the second space, and this space is located on both sides of the lower part of the anal canal. The third space is present between the lining mucosa of the anal canal and the internal anal sphincter. This space, since this space is lying between the mucosa and the internal anal sphincter, that is the submucosa, therefore this space is known as submucosal space, which contains these, can you see, the venous plexus, which was lying below the mucosa. Okay, now we will look on to the arterial supply of the anal canal.